Why isn't Belarus a part of Russia? Russia and Belarus have a deep historical connection that is crucial for understanding their often complicated relationship in the modern era. This topic requires a deep dive into the historical origins of these two countries. Exploring their histories opens the way to answering some important questions. What events made Belarus a separate region? How has its relationship with its neighbors influenced its current situation? To understand the histories of Russia and Belarus, we need to go back to the first major state in the area, the Kievan Rus. This state is considered to have begun in the mid-9th century AD and grew to encompass large areas of modern-day Russia and Belarus. According to the 12th century source, the Primary Chronicle, the local inhabitants invited a Scandinavian by the name of Rurik to rule over the land. Whether this account is accurate or not, the so-called Rurik dynasty would have a lasting impact on Eastern Europe. The dynasty continued into the 16th century and included figures such as Ivan IV, the first Tsar of Russia. The Kievan Rus period was an important milestone in the development of Christianity in the region. Vladimir I, who was born sometime around 956 and lived to 1015 AD, is generally attributed with bringing Christianity to the region in an official capacity. Prior to this, the people of the area worshipped traditional Slavic deities, such as the thunder god Perun. The Primary Chronicle says that Vladimir's envoys became convinced by the beauty of Orthodox Christianity, and he himself chose to convert. However the process truly happened, Christianity was certainly making headways into the region at this time. Another milestone in the development of the region of Belarus was the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. It appears that the first so-called Grand Duke was a man named Mindaugas, who managed to consolidate Polotsk, Vitebsk, and Minsk sometime around the mid-1200s. This new realm would be ethnically mixed, but largely made up of Slavic peoples. It was around this time that the term Belarus appeared to have originated. Belarus, literally translated as White Ruthenia, may have been used in order to distinguish the area from Black Ruthenia, the area that was under the control of the Mongols. After the Mongols' power had receded in the region, the Grand Duchy of Lithuania would expand all the way down to Kyiv. This now enormous territory was bordered by the state of Muscovy in the east and by Poland in the west. The state of Muscovy, now led by Grand Duke Dmitry Donskoy of Vladimir and Moscow, managed to defeat an army of Mongols and Lithuanians at the Battle of Kulikova Field in 1380. Although the Muscovites were not yet completely free of Mongol control, this battle marked a turning point in the power dynamic between Muscovy and the Mongols. Events like this were paving the way for Muscovy to ultimately build the Russian Empire, while Belarus grew closer to its eastern neighbors. Not long after the death of the previous king of Poland, the new Grand Duke of Lithuania, Jogaila, assumed the throne of both the Grand Duchy of Lithuania and the Kingdom of Poland, due to a marriage arrangement in 1385. The marriage arrangement deal required the Grand Duke to be baptized as a Christian. The cultural consequences of this were that Lithuanian paganism was banned, and Roman Catholicism gained a stronger foothold in the region. Despite this, the majority of the population remained Orthodox Christians. Orthodox Christianity is today the most prominent Christian denomination in both Russia and Belarus, while Poland, for example, remains largely Catholic. Belarus became a part of the Russian Empire after the partitioning of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in 1795. One consequence of the partition was that the Orthodox Church grew in the area. Russian law was soon introduced, and the region was split into 5 governing divisions. These divisions remained in place until 1917. In 1834, the Russian language was introduced into the courts, in the administration, and in education. Following the annexation, infrastructure and other investments were made, and the Oginsky Canal system, which linked the Neman and Dnieper rivers, was finished. However, war was coming over the horizon. World War I had a lethal impact on the fate of the Russian Empire. As the armies of Germany and Austro-Hungary pushed into Russian territory, nationalist movements began to flare up. There was even a push in the region by some Lithuanian and Belarusian nationalists to form a new Grand Duchy of Lithuania. However, the Belarusian Socialist Hromada, a nationalist party, did not have large support among the peasants. For the Russian Empire, the consequence of World War I was the Revolution of 1917, which overthrew the Tsar and thrust the region into the beginning of the Soviet era. On March 25, 1918, a Belarusian National Republic was declared, but the area was soon absorbed into the new Soviet state. By 1922, Belarus was a republic within the Soviet Union. Early Soviet policy favored some ethnic autonomy of a sort. From 1922 to 1932, the number of Belarusians present in the party organization of the republic grew from 21% to 60%. Alongside other minority languages, the Belarusian language became more important in an official context. The situation turned in the 1930s, and the Russian language became a compulsory subject in schools across the Soviet Union. The Cyrillic alphabet replaced the use of the Latin alphabet that was being used by some languages. These policies would only begin to ease up following the death of Stalin. Belarus was hit extremely hard by the German invasion during World War II. Enormous loss of life, especially of Jewish citizens, changed the demographics of the area in a major way. The Jewish population of Belarus was estimated to be around 1 million in 1939. The Belarusian Republic evacuated around 220,000 Jewish residents after the invasion in 1941. Between July 1941 and October 1943, an estimated 600,000 to 800,000 Jews were killed in the Belarusian Republic. The Jewish population of modern Belarus is now only around 40,000. Belarus declared its sovereignty on July 27, 1990, and its independence on August 25, 1991. Since the end of the Soviet Union, the Belarusian language has declined in use, and Russian has become more popular. In 1999, 85.6% of Belarusians called Belarusian their native language. In the 2019 census, 61.2% of the population said the same. More interestingly, only 28.5% of citizens said they use Belarusian when communicating at home. Shortly after both nations became independent, a series of treaties were signed that have since brought Belarus and Russia closer together. In 1995, due to negotiations between Russian President Boris Yeltsin and Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, the Treaty of Friendship, Good Neighborliness, and Cooperation was signed between the two countries. The purpose of this treaty was to increase economic integration and military cooperation. In 1996, the two countries signed the Treaty on the Creation of the Community of Russia and Belarus. The goal of this treaty was to further strengthen the connections of the previous treaty, but also to cooperate in the humanitarian, foreign policy, and security fields. In 1997, the Treaty on the Union of Belarus and Russia was signed. This treaty entailed security and foreign policy cooperation, as well as joint citizenship and further economic cooperation. In 2000, the Treaty on the Creation of the Union State was finalized, creating a union state of Russia and Belarus. Besides these treaties, there is the Commonwealth of Independent States, which was created in 1991. An evolution of the Eurasian Economic Community that was created in 2000, the Eurasian Economic Union, was formed in 2015. The two nations were also a part of the Collective Security Treaty Organization, which was created as a defensive treaty to include Russia, Belarus, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. While relations between the Belarusian government and Western Europe do not seem to be improving, The war in Ukraine appears to have brought Belarus and Russia closer together. Belarusian cooperation with the Russian military during the 2022 war in Ukraine was a big step in the modern relationship of the two countries. The International Monetary Fund estimates show that in 2022, an estimated 62% of Belarus trading was done with their biggest partner, Russia. In June 2023, the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, and the President of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, announced that Russia would be deploying tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. What happens next? Perhaps Belarus will move closer towards the European Union, or perhaps its connection with Russia will be strengthened. By analyzing the past, we give ourselves a better chance at predicting the future, but only time will truly tell.